Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. Today we're going to be talking about something that is kind of heavy on the mind on some of the agents in this community. And a lot of kind of how I perceive what people may be thinking is I read comments. Most of you already know this. You'll see some of your comments end up becoming video subjects on this channel. And so I go around, read comments from other content creators, comment section. I read comments on the state of the game chat. In fact, it's hard to watch sometimes because all I just do is focus on the comments and see how people are responding. And with the new talk about the rainbow loot wanting to be changed, I started to see a lot of concerns, and these concerns were there nonetheless for, stash space and, stash sizes. And I think one of the really interesting things is, this will mean that you're going to be getting a new set of loot. The old loot that you had will still be relevant to you in many cases based on the builds you're using. And a lot of people already have 4 characters that are like, I'll call them mules that carry their gear and all that stuff. But then, you also have that possibility of going, if I delete all my old gear, what if I need something that is unique that the new patch is removing? How am I going to, access those things? And that's, a valid concern for especially for 4-year veterans of the division. We keep a lot of the old legacy stuff because once patches roll around, unless it's a huge overhaul of things like, entire talent systems and all, a lot of the legacy items that you get may become very difficult to get in some cases. And so this is the question that a lot of folk are asking in the community. Are we going to be able to get a stash size increase when this, loot comes around? And the question is, we don't know, and the developers have not said anything. In fact, it was almost like pulling teeth last time to get them to even acknowledge that we needed more stash space. And let's even go back to the beginning of the game. The development team were going to give extra stash space to people who bought the Ultimate Edition or something like that. And, the community just basically, regurgitated that and said, no, that's not going to work. And, then probably seeing sales numbers not being as high, I think they overestimated how popular the division franchise was. The division franchise was popular, but it never necessarily, was favored, in the entire gaming community. And so I think they quickly changed their minds on that and decided that everybody was going to get free, get the same amount of stash space at the same time. I thought that was a viable idea, but they then did not give the people who had bought the gold and ultimate editions kind of any value for their money, according to a lot of players anyways. And a lot of players who bought the ultimate edition, they said, we got those weird assignments, you get those weird classified or priority assignments or something, and then you get like early access to some of the content, and then you also got some of the open ended aspect of the specialization weapons without doing the field research. Now, in my opinion, I thought that was fair for the gold edition. I got the gold edition of the game. I don't buy ultimate editions of games, even with the hype of Cyberpunk 2077 and with the hype of all the other whatever it is. I don't buy ultimate editions. I just think spending that is too much from my price range. But many of you gamers that play the division, y'all are loaded, and so I appreciate that some people can enjoy that aspect of the game, as well. But the thing is, once people spent that amount of money, the value proposition was not there anymore. And that's where a lot of people had a lot of problems with the game. And so are the developers in a position to add a stash size to the game? Now, I also understand the side of the argument where people may say, our stash size is already really big. When it comes to the server client infrastructure, is it possible for them to, want to implement more stash space on top of all the, the different bugs and on top of all the different challenges that the game faces from an execution level? And I think that's a question worth asking, because what's going to be the, the sacrifice, or what's going to be the cost at which we get extra stash space? Is this going to go add or, insert some kind of a weird bug to the game that we're not going to be able to control for? Or is this going to be something where, it's a simple execution and doesn't really affect much of the game? For those of you who are programmers, who are in the world of this kind of thing from, different perspectives, please comment so that we can, some of us don't have the experience, or some of us don't have, the technical knowledge as to how these things work. So I'd be really, really, really happy if somebody could basically kind of, open my eyes to what exactly this would entail, because I see this being, something that can add more value to players, even though, for some may say, oh, it's not necessarily needed. But we know that the game, is approaching, some kind of a wind down phase. Perhaps there'll be content drops or 2 content drops, or I don't know what's going to happen with the game. Some people have even said the game might continue for 2 more years. I don't know how that's going to happen. Perhaps they have enough money to develop that long, but I would tell you, in my opinion, that this game, already has a sequel that's in the works somehow. I don't know what kind of sequel it will be. Perhaps maybe something else. And as they're working on Avatar, they might have some real huge content expansions for year 3. You never know. I think they should put a year 3 rather than do a Division 3, in my opinion, nonetheless. I think it'll be really cool. But that year 3 has to have everything players are asking for. I mean, I'm talking the whole works, survival style content. Even though people may say survival, many people didn't play survival in Division 1 long enough. Well, that's because the mode was overestimated. I don't know. People overestimated the mode to have some level of randomness, but it was redundant because all the things players asked for to keep the mode interesting, like changing the location of those caches and making it very difficult for players to be able to progress through it, those things weren't really done. So it became something where everybody knew where the loot was, where all the best items were, and people just kind of played the game that way. The second thing was rewarding. There was a time where you could go find the urban MDR, and people were touting that you could get the urban MDR from survival easier. I remember playing survival many times, and I never got that weapon. And so that was a big issue too, because you spent 45 minutes, an hour struggling through the mission, dealing with other players, trying to survive and everything, as everybody ran in there. And it just became apparent that you were better off or better served, doing other content to get that item, because the urban MDR at that time was an exotic in the Division 1, and it was one of the better exotics that we had in the game. So nonetheless, if we're going to be seeing this kind of a change, if we're going to be getting more seasons, these seasons are probably going to be bringing, all kinds of different aspects to them. We expect at least that, the developers, consider this aspect of the game and, implement it. But anyways, that's pretty much my take. I want to hear you guys' take in this whole conversation. I know it's a big and critical subject, and I hope that we can, maybe, I don't know, shape out some aspect of the conversation in order to figure out exactly what needs to be done, if it's something that needs to be done, if it's something that needs to just be ignored for better things to be implemented in the game. I guess that's where our conversation would drive. All right, that's it for me. Thank you so much for your time and audience. I appreciate you guys a lot. I appreciate all your support, and hopefully we'll see in another video. Peace.